Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card, which I'm calling a bridge span card. I was inspired by a card that I saw that had been made by a lady called Pat Texa. I don't know if that's correct way of saying her last name, but it's spelled T-E-C-Z-A, and she goes under the name of Ramblin' Stamper, and the Ramblin' is without the G. So what happens is when you open up the card, it's got like a little span across a bridge, and then there's a little secret message underneath. Very, very easy to make, but I thought that was really delightful. One, I haven't seen this before, whether it was Pat's idea or not, I don't know. But she's certainly the one that's inspired me, and I really like that idea of having another little message underneath there. The first card I made, my what I call my prototype, was this one. And basically it's the same, it's just I used a different designer series paper. That one I was able to use that underneath and then decorate it. But this one I had to use cardstock because I didn't have enough of this. And also I've been able to decorate the cardstock there, and one of the ladies who follows my blog, because she's seen me do this before, she said, could I just show how it is actually done? She's obviously a lady after my own heart, and she's very much a visual learner. So I'm going to show you the card pieces that I'm going to be using. The designer series paper here is called Hydrangea Hill, and I'm going to stick to that. But for the cardstock, whereas this is Seaside Spray, I'm going to be using Purple Posy. Both colours will be retiring on the 3rd of May this year. So, now there are a lot of pieces here, so I will try and get it right first time. I'm going to be giving you inches for people who use A4 cardstock. In the box below the video, I will put the metric measurements and also the inches for people who use letter size cardstock. And thank you very much for my subscribers last week who actually confirmed that that is what it is called in North America. It's what we call it over here, but I didn't want to call it that without checking first, so thank you for that. Right, to start off with, you need a piece of Purple Posy, which measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored and folded at 4 1/8. Then you need, for the bridge, a piece of cardstock which measures 1 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And then for the little piece underneath the bridge, oh, don't tell me I've lost it again. Oh no, there we go. The little piece under the bridge with the sentiment on, that measures 1 inch by 3 1/4 inches. Inside the card I'm going to be using cardstock, and that measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8 inches. This is for my sentiment to go on, and the dies I've used here are called Stitched Nested, and this one has been die cut with number 5, and this one, the sentiment, has been die cut with number 4. If you don't have that, you can use any sentiments that you want, and then just work out the sizes of the cardstock and the Whisper White cardstock that you'll be needing. Now the next lot are all the white pieces. Now don't ask me why I did this, but I started putting this together. So the first bit is for inside the card, and this measures 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/2 inches. The next piece is for the centre panel. That measures 3 7/8 inches by 3 inches. And then you need 2 pieces of Whisper White for the side panels, and they should measure 1 inch by 3 7/8 inches. the piece for the bridge, which is this one, that should measure 1 inch by 5.5 inches. And then the one under the bridge for the sentiment, that should measure 3/4 of an inch by 2/7/8 of an inch. No, that's not right. No, forget that. This should be 7/8 of an inch by 2 7/8. Let me just cross that bit out. Okay. So what did I do with my little bit? Okay, so that should layer on top there. The ends should meet, but there should be a bit of cardstock showing either side. So I'll repeat that. The whisper white should be 7/8 of an inch by 2 7/8 of an inch. And then you need a scrap for your actual sentiment, that one there. And then for the designer series paper, for the side panels, you need 2 pieces that measure 7/8 of an inch by 3 3/4 inches. For the centre panel, you need a piece that is 3/4 of an inch by 2 7/8 of an inch. And for the bridge, you need a piece that's 7/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 inches. Now that should be everything that you need. This card is really very, very easy to put together, and as you can see, I have actually let the the designer series paper do the work for me, because I haven't actually added any embellishments. The images, the only thing I've done is to do the 2 sentiments and doing stamping in there, of course. So we will start with, as I say, I don't know why I did that. I think I got carried away doing that first one. So first of all, we're going to work with this piece to cut to size. I have to move all those pieces over there. Obviously I've got a lot of bits to adhere together. So first of all, I'm going to bring my trimmer over. Right, and I'm going to line this up at 1 1/4 inches over this side here, and I am going to cut down as far as the side of the score line. Now I tend to stop a little bit short of the score line so that I can cut the extra if necessary. That's a little bit short. Now I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to line this side up on 1 1/4. Yes, they're both a little bit short, but I'd much rather cut the extra bit than cutting it too far so it goes over the score line. And if you've, oh, that's perfect, look at that one. If you use our paper snips, you will know that they cut right to the very end there, which is great when you're doing things like this. So first of all, I'm going to start doing some gluing, start gluing all my pieces together. So as I say, I've done that. Let's do this piece first. With this piece, when I cut it, I actually selected the piece that I wanted, because if I'd just cut it the first piece, I would have had a lot of greenery. Must have been at the bottom, I suppose, loads of leaves, and it sat right at the top there, and I thought, no, don't want that. So use whichever adhesive you feel most comfortable with. You can probably tell that I've got a nice new tube here. Right, I have a pair of tweezers. And the same as last week, I have left my index finger on my right hand without a fingernail, because it was so much easier last week crafting without it. Okay, so a naked finger again. But I've only got 3 weeks now to wait to be able to get to see Sharon. so I'm sure that time's going to go quite quickly. So I'm going to put these two pieces on here. Whoops. Turn it over. We have quite a lot of cardstock at the moment, which, not cardstock, designer series paper, which will work really well with it. Whoops. Just in case you don't know, I do actually have a towel on my seat that I sit on, so that if I do anything like that, I could just put my hand down and wipe it, rather than having to look around to see what I've got on my desk to wipe my fingers on. I was saying something, wasn't I? That we've got quite a lot of different designer series paper that would work well for this. There's no reason why you can't stamp your own images, because I do have beautiful stamp sets to go with them too. I hope you all know that Stampin' Up have released their retiring list, and a lot of things have got decent discounts on. So if you are looking for a nice bargain, do check that out. If you haven't seen the list, get in touch with your demonstrator and ask for a copy of it. Although you can see it online when you go shopping. It's just that it's much easier if you've got the list. The advantage of seeing it online is that that is really up to date, whereas once the list is generated, that is it. It doesn't get updated at all. But I prefer to look at an actual list. Right, I've left a 1/4 of an inch gap around the outside of my layers. Come on. Why did I decide that, whereas last week I did a 1/4 of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch? I don't know really. I think probably so that more of the designer series paper is visible, because there's nothing else. Got a bit of a mark on that paper. If I put it down there, maybe it'll be less obvious. Unfortunately, the sentiment won't be coming over it, but never mind. And you put these on, just try and line them up across the top there, or across the bottom, whichever's easiest for you. So that's going to be going across there. Inside, that will be after I've stamped it. Okay, so let's do some stamping. Considering I don't have any actual images here, there's quite a bit of stamping to be done. So first of all, I have my stamperators all set up ready. As you know, I tend to do all my stamping nowadays with using this. Right, so this piece is for my sentiment, and let me tell you which stamp sets I'm using. So for the happy birthday here, I'm using this one, and that's You Are Amazing. Unfortunately, this one will be retiring, which is a shame, because someone just sent this to me as a gift. I wished I'd seen it earlier because it's lovely. So that's for this sentiment. For the other sentiment, I am using Celebrate Sunflowers, Let's Celebrate You. Now that's not retiring, so that's good news. And this one I didn't check, I forgot. This is Hydrangea Haven. I doubt if it's retiring. And this one I'm going to be using that little stamp there to stamp my top layer of the purple posy inside my card. Okay, so there the stamp sets. this one, and I am going to be using, shall I use Purple Posy? I did wonder whether I should use something a bit darker like Highland Heather. But I'm going to try Purple Posy. The advantage of using my Stamparatus, of course, is that I can stamp more than once to get my sentiment nice and dark. So you can see me here, yep. I am sorry to see the 5 colours that are retiring on the 4th of May, which are Purple Posy, Seaside Spray, Pretty Peacock, Terracotta Tile and Rococo Rose. But we will have 5 new colours coming in. There we go, I think that's okay. Let me just put that up against the front of my card, just to make sure that it's going to look alright. Yes, brilliant. So that needs to be die cut. Let's put that one over there. Now with the sentiment, because it's quite a large sentiment and it has to fit onto the piece of cardstock perfectly, I've already measured this, already worked out where this has got to go on here. But because this is so close to the size there, and that's got some furry bits on it, let me just trim those bits off. That's better. Instead of being able to use my magnet to hold it in place, I'm using some temporary adhesive. And this is brilliant stuff. It's not Stampin' Up, I'm afraid. I think it's by a company called Stix 2, which is S-T-I-X and the number 2. Let's lift that to make sure that's straight. It is. And yes, okay. So let's do this in Purple Posy as well. Unfortunately, there was problems with Purple Posy when it first came out, and we couldn't get ink refills for them, or at least I don't think they were able to eventually. They may have been able to. But one of the girls in my team, she said if you use Highland Heather stamped off once, you get the same colour. There we go, see, that fits on beautifully. Funny enough, that L looks as if it's going up in the air a bit. Never mind, that's going to be fine. I'm not going to worry about that. So that doesn't need cutting. That does other stamping. Ah, this. Right, now this is freehand stamping, this one. So this is the way I do the stamping on here. Now, I've chosen to use that little one there, but you could use any of these if you wanted to. The only reason I wouldn't use that is because it's got such a long stalk on it. That one I rather like. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I will bring my piece of paper over. That's going to bug me about the Purple Posy, because I can see something on my shelf over there which they're in alphabetical order and it looks as if it might be, so maybe I got one before it was withdrawn or something. Right, so what I'm going to do, normally when I do this on white paper, I normally stamp off, okay, but I wouldn't on this. No, I wouldn't on this at all. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp randomly over my cardstock, and I do find it easier if I turn my cardstock rather than keep worrying about turning my stamp. And obviously this is one of those things that you can't do wrong. It is very easy to do it wrong if you're doing on white cardstock and you're stamping off once. It's very easy to forget to do the stamping off bit. There we go. Right, I don't know if you can see it here. On this one there are two-tone. Some of them are darker than the others. And what happened was, one over here, I forgot to stamp it off, and it looked a bit odd with all the others. So I had to go round and stamp a few more that weren't stamped off once. But this time, none of them have been. So let's start adhering the rest of the pieces together, and then I can bring my big shot over. I think this is the colour that I'm going to miss most out of the 5 that are going, because it is so good when you put it with Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. But then I am a purple person, like I know several of you others are as well. Oops, whoops, not too far. Yes, that's good. So let's put this piece in. If you're in the UK, hope you remember to turn the clocks back. No, forward rather. Turn the clocks forward. 1 minute I'm talking to you like we've already got there, and the next thing I'm going to say is obviously we haven't, and that is I must remember when I schedule the video that I allow for that extra hour, otherwise you're going to be waiting an extra hour for it, or it'll come an hour early. I query this every year, twice a year. In the autumn when we put the clocks forward, and at this time of the year, no, autumn we put them back, that's right, because fall back in the fall, spring forward in the spring. Okay, so these, oh, I've got a bit of glue there. This should go edge to edge with a 1/8 of an inch gap between. There we go, that's that. So I've got that bit, I've got that bit, that needs die cutting. So I think that's, oh, always doing that. I do wish this wasn't green. Right, okay, let's move that. Let's bring this in. Clear myself a space. Right, make sure that the dip is at the bottom. Put that on there, and we use a smaller die. There we go. Just make sure that looks good. There we go. For a horrible moment there, I thought maybe it hadn't cut. There we go. So let's pop this bit on. I'll just get rid of that. Yes, that looks good. So all we need to do now is to put our card together. Now where you put all these pieces is entirely up to you. For this piece, for the bridge, all you need to do is to make sure that it goes from side to side. You just decide for yourself how you think that that looks best, because you're going to be putting that on as well. And I know from the other ones, I put mine on at 7/8 of an inch up. And I have to say, this ruler has been absolutely brilliant. I think it's a dressmaker's design. Yes, so easy. Designed in Australia. Quilt and Sew ruler. And what I tend to do is, once I've put it, what I consider to be in place, then I put this, line that up. Because it's got a nice flat edge there, I can push that up as well to make sure that both sides are correct. Let me show you. Now, you can turn this over to decide where to put your glue. And whenever I'm doing anything like this, I only put glue level with the designer series paper. If you try and put glue further over where there's the Whisper White or even the cardstock, you'll make this go down if it sticks. So I just keep this lined up with the designer series paper, that side and that side. And then there's not a right way or wrong way with this. So turn it like that. Put that where I think is about 7/8 of an inch. And that looks, oh my goodness, that's almost, look at that. So just line that up, and this one. And of course, because it's Tombow, it will allow you to move it a bit. There we go. So that should be perfectly straight. If it isn't, there's something wrong with my card. But no, that's 7/8 spot on, and that is 7/8 spot on. So next I'm going to pop this on, and again I'm going to just look at this, eyeball it to make sure that the points on my shapes here are in the centre there. But to put my glue on, I position this again so that the point's in the centre, and then I only put my glue where my designer series paper is. Whoops. or at least I try only to. There we go. I mean, if you wanted to put yours over that side, you could do. You could actually put it in the middle. Let's put it over here. Just remembered I got that funny bit. I don't cover it up anyway, that little bit there. Okay, so that's there. Again, I can use this. So that is spot on the one after the black. Spot on the one after the black. Okay, so that's fine. The last bit we need to do is this one. Now this one, you've got to make it so that it hides underneath the back here. So it should be about there, which I suppose must be about 1 inch, mustn't it? Thinking about that logically, let me see what this works out to be. Oh, that's right, 1 1/8. Yeah. Let's do that. I bet that's 1 1/8. Yes, it is. Okay, so if your measurements have followed on from these, then the 1 1/8 will be fine. And for this one, you can glue all of the back. No, you can't, because you can go up to that edge there. Okay. Again, just as far as the designer series paper. So if I pop that on there, which looks to be about 1 inch, or 1 1/8, then I can use my ruler again just to push it up. Crikey, I was quite a long way out there. That's spot on. And come down a tad. That's it. That is spot on as well. So very quickly, have a look. There you go. In fact, that is coming up very slightly. I wonder why that was. Oh, I suppose if you tip it far enough, it's going to be visible, isn't it? Okay, but I'm happy with that, I'm fine. Now the way I decorated this one, I put a couple of ladybirds on and the bow. So what I did with my ladybirds, because I'm not that keen on using blue dots for embellishments, because I think that they still keep moving. Oops. Okay. There's one. That's 2. I'll take the first one. And again, with the fingers, it's not very helpful. Ah, there we go. Let's do that. So I just put some Tombow on the actual brass legs and also on the blue dot. And then as it dries, it will become solid. But the glue dot will help it to, oops, that's far too much. The glue dot will help it to stay in place now, whereas, you know, Tombow does give you a bit of wiggle room. Okay. Now with these, I'm not fussed if they're, which direction they're facing in. There we go, that's that one. That is so solid already, it's brilliant. Now this one, the glue dot came over the edge. So I'm going to see if I can pull this back so it's hidden. Yep, that should be fine. Put some Tombow. That's it. And a bit on the metal. I call it brass. I don't know if they are brass. Right. Oh, there we go. So that's nice and solid. I did think about putting a third one on. I know not everybody's really happy with ladybirds. Right, I thought I'd brought my ribbon. Yes, I did bring my ribbon over. I have tied a ribbon in case I struggle. Tied a bow rather, not ribbon. So as I showed you last week, for bunny ears, put the sides, the faces flat against each other. Do the same for the other side. And the secret of being successful with these bows is making sure that you keep the ribbons flat. Okay, so now you put one on top of the other, hold them so they stay flat, and then as you put this one through this hole, that one will want to twist over, turn over, not twist over, and turn over is okay, it's the twisting that we don't want. Okay, so I bring this one forward. Now you watch what the other one does, because this is in the way, it needs to go over like that. Okay, so then they're all nice and flat. So you just pull them tight and they're not flat anymore, but you've got a bow, and a pretty good bow as well. Oops, pulled that a bit too tight, didn't I? Well, no, not too high, too hard. Come on, that's it. There we go. Pull that one tighter again. You just keep pulling and tightening and moving your ribbons till you've got something that you're happy with. And my ribbon scissors, just cut this off here for the time being. And then pop it in place. The other one I did think about popping it there. If you pop it on here like this one, just make sure that it doesn't get in the way of these two bits here. Okay, if you put it on that bit, that's fine, because that one's not opening first. Okay, so that's how I thought about doing this one. In fact, that's how I'm going to do this one. So again, I'm going to use a blue dot to start off with. Oh, that side looks nicer. You do normally find one side that looks better than the other. Just tear that off, that's getting a bit long. And then once I've done that, then I put some Tombow on it as well, because that has finished up in a silly position. You see that? Really right off the edge there. You see the shine, I think, can't you? There we go. Let's give that a little bit of a press. Give Tombow a chance to do its job. And let's trim that up a little bit. I think that one's alright, isn't it? I'll check it later anyway. So there we go. That's today's project. I hope you like it and I hope you give it a try. Let's just clear the decks so that you can see them properly. If you have any questions or any comments to make, please leave them in the box below the video. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have, and also I do read through your comments. If you've enjoyed my video and would like to be notified each time I upload a new one, please click on the subscribe button down there in the bottom right hand corner, and then click on the bell so you get a notification. In the box below, as well as the measurements, I would also put a link to my 24/7 online stamping app shop where you can purchase the products that I've used here. But things like the designer series paper and the stamp set that I did this, the ladybugs, ladybirds, they'll all be retiring on the 3rd of May 2021. Okay, if you do shop in my online store, please remember to put the hostess code so that I can send you free product at the end of the month when I send out your happy mail. I say end of the month, it's normally about the middle of the month, the middle of the following month now, because we have Brexit and it takes a bit longer for our orders to come across from Germany, but you will get them. Apart from that, I think that's about all I have to say today. Please take care and stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, happy crafting. Cheerio.